Hello, gang. Welcome to Sketching with Izzy. This very special, uncomfortably comfortable bathrobe edition. It's cold in the Pacific Northwest, so I have been working in my bathrobe today. Gotta roll up the sleeves, do a little goblin painting. How y'all doing? Avid Adelheid, welcome. Glad y'all are here. Kilrothy, hi. Doing a little pop out. I'm doing a little screen organization. Sorry, I was caught up in work, hence broadcasting a little bit late today. I kind of forgot. So, all good. We're sussed out. We're lined up. Uh-oh. That VPN action. All right. Check, where did I lose you? Stream info. So how you all doing? How's the rest of your weekend? Did you have a good time? Get a little bit of rest. Get some painting in. Yeah, the Hugh Hefner style with my bathrobe. I guess this is a little bit more the dude, but Izzy style because the sleeves are rolled up. That is a whole thing. I'll have to explain sometime. All right. So one of the things that I was thinking about that would be interesting is to look at this as though we got it back with some feedback from an art director. Since we're kind of doing that, we're kind of doing a Magic the Gathering from scratch illustration experience. I thought it might be interesting to kind of just take a look at it from that perspective. So let's consider what they would say. Looking at this, I imagine they'd probably say it looks like the goblin is talking to the stick instead of looking like kind of an irritable badass with a stick. So I have some options there. Maybe move the placement of the arm or something like that. Maybe change the lighting a little bit. Maybe they say, oh, the colors are cool, but maybe it's a little too, I don't know, fantasy, Disney movie looking. What else can you do? Can we make this a little bit grimmer, a little bit darker, but not too much, because nothing can be too dark in Magic the Gathering. Okay, cool. So we got some notes. Great. So when I get to the stage where I've sent in the sketch, got my notes, and I'm ready to go on to the next stage, what I start doing is collapsing everything. I've already saved this as a new file with the addendum -002 instead of -001 because we are now on version 2 of our illustration. So I go in and I'm just going to merge boosh, all of my flats, boosh, environment, boosh, backgrounds, skoosh. All right. I turn my background into a layer. Oftentimes I will transform it up just a little bit because for some reason, every now and then, Photoshop will have like an errant pixel edge, and I don't like that little vibration. All the muse he needs in the world is his stick. This is true. Okay, so we have some scrappy bits on top. This is our raw underpainting, and we did a lot of opaque, and then some screen layer, I believe, and then finally a little bit of the sexy accent values on top of that. And they're kind of spread all over the place. I did these at the last bit, and so they're not connected directly to any of these layers. Well, when I'm thinking about that, then I want to make sure that they are connected to respective layers. So I see here that with this one, the painting is done on the goblin and the landfill. So I can clipping mask to the goblin and then clipping mask to the landfill. Right here, this is on all three: the background, the landfill, the buildings, not the sky so much, a little bit, but not much, and goblin. So for this one, we'll clipping mask to the goblin. We'll copy it, clipping mask to landfill, copy, clipping mask to our background buildings. As for our accent values, those are just on the goblin, so we'll just clip to the goblin. And nothing's lost. You see, it's basically the same illustration we had before, but now every layer is defined. Oh, hello, Kova. My dog has arrived. Well, you're gonna go lay down. Oh, you want to say hi to the people? Come here. Oh. Hey, dog points. I has a dog. This is Kova. I don't know if you all have seen her before. She's the one that's always barking in the background. I'm sure we will hear some of that while she's in here. Go lay down. Go on. Her shadow on the wall looks cool. Go on. Go home. Go home. She's very stubborn and not particularly bright, but she is the cutest little dog. Go home. She's just standing there looking at me. Go on. Go home. Go to your little nest. Go home. There you go. Nope. Just gonna stare. All right. Good times. Dog entertainment value. All right. So I think one of the things we can do is zoom in on all of this a little bit so that we have a little bit more focus. Oh, if I remember right, actually, I did have to worry a little about the framing because there would be a little bit of text that covers the bottom. Kova, stop. Go home. Don't lick my feet. I don't like that. That's creepy. I'm gonna do that Buffalo Bill shit in here. Okay. We can frame him a little bit better. I'm just implying a little bit of perspective here. Framing the stick, got features pointing at the stick. So that's quite different than it was, eh? We've changed the focal depth on the camera. Kova, hey, go home. Come on, go home. Go on. Go home. Lay down. She likes to be mischievous and get into things. It's kind of her way. Okay. You can also mess with the sky a little bit, maybe. Something. All right, so what can we do? I'm going to go ahead and do a quick merge down of everything again, and you'll see this is going to clean up our layers quite nicely. Boom. We're down to 4 layers, gang. How nice is that? Okay, so we want to make him a little bit more aggressive. Let's make a copy as a backup. See if we can do something with warp. And we want to make, since we got our note from our art director, it looks like he's looking at his stick. Maybe we can move the arm above. We're gonna cut it and paste it, throw it in behind our goblin. Ooh! I like this kind of dismissive pose. Grab his head. Paste on top. Part of this could be the mouth expression, so we can play with that too. I'm not being precious at all about the painting that I've done already, because we have a copy of it. It's not like it's lost. Mask out the old face. Again, this is one of the reasons I just love painting goblins, because you can really, really distort their faces, their bodies. Just abuse the holy hell out of them. We don't want to focus on him too much. I just want to solve the specific issues at hand. Remembering that we're always going to be saving the money shot, the fun, the dessert, all that good stuff for the end. If we do it all now, we just focus on the face, that we're not going to finish the background, we're not going to finish all the garbage on the ground, it's just going to look unfinished. And no matter how hard we try, we'll never get it to the same level, because you don't love it as much. It's just what it is. It's that redheaded stepchild. Unloved. Forever. Sad. Just using the blend brush just to knock back some of the line work that's still showing, or any weird, that arm's on a different layer, so that was a waste of time. But any weird artifacting that's not looking so good, I just blend it away for now. The cool thing is it's always pretty easy to bring edges back. Different layer again. So we're definitely looking to make him more ill-tempered. Yes, the pay has remained static for quite some time. But believe it or not, when I started, it was about 750 per card. That was what, 15 years ago or so. I'm not trying to solve for everything. I am just trying to get little notes from myself that are going to answer the questions or the issues that the art director may have had. So, art director says, make him look a little more mean. He's too cute. How did my current card go? You said last time we were going to work on it. Yeah, the last time we met, I was still working on sketches for the current wave of cards that I'm doing for Magic. I did finish the sketches. I sent them out earlier today, I think. It was two sketches, or yeah, two cards I'm working on. Nothing particularly mind blowing, just simple, really, really simple cards. I always like this stuff that's kind of challenging emotionally or narratively, but every now and then you get like paint a candle sconce, and you're like, oh, all right, it is what it is. It's like half goblin, half Tyrannosaurus. Goblinsaurus. Maybe the other thing we can do is grab this arm. Maybe another note for myself is maybe he needs like a hat or something, or a funny vest. We did talk about clothes last time, or maybe even armor. What if he was like a goblin wizard? I don't know. I have no idea. We'll figure it out later. Not a big idea. Not a big deal. Everyone is focused. Yeah, Ola. When people don't talk, I'll just quiet down and get to work. So that's usually, and then of course that begets people being quiet, and it just becomes this feedback loop of weird, awkward silence. The assignment on this one was to do the gutter snipe, which is a goblin that has discovered some magical stick in a little city scene. Ellie Paul, thank you for that follow. Sorry about that. I'm a little bit delayed today. How does it work? They send you these every quarter, month, or do you have to constantly apply for it once you're in? No. So what they do is each new wave, and usually there's about 3 waves a year, 2 to 3. They approach us if we've been working with them for a while and ask us if we have any availability. And if we do, they ask us how many cards we want. That's about it. Once you're in, you basically kind of have to actively tell them you're not seeking work right now. Sure, why not? Goblin hippo benign growth. Yes. Vestigial twin. Okay. Sorry. We got distracted. Let's get started on the background. Okay. One of the easy ways to imply some perspective. We have some good. We have a good kind of camera angle, low horizon line. We're looking up at our creature. I can certainly improve that better by showing us a little bit more of the underside planes of the neck and the head, and making sure that the chest and everything, the ellipses of it, are curving upwards. So we'll have to do that when we get back to the body. But for now, let's find other ways that we can improve our lot. Can do 2 things with clouds. You can go lighter or you can go darker. What's happened here? Aw, Cypher. Thank you so much. Please, everyone who got a lovely gift, thank Cypher. I'll turn down my speaker because that's going to be loud for a little while. Thank you so much for that. Very kind. Cypher is remarkably generous too. Yeah, the link cap Ola is ridiculous. It's so dumb that they do that. The hell? What is happening here? There we go. Yeah, you have to have 10K. That was a goddamn slog, let me tell you. Trying to get 10K followers on Instagram is just... Oish. Okay, that's good enough for Sky for now. Ah. Okay, we're gonna group our goblin. What widget am I using for color pickers? The color picker itself, or are you talking about the color palette thing up here? Well, no, I mean this color palette thing up here is Magic Picker from Anastasi. Which is an extra palette. What's the word? Extension. It's an Adobe Photoshop extension that I picked up. I really like it. I used to use it very heavily for tone lock, and what tone lock would do is you could change the hue and the saturation, but it would automatically try to match the brightness, because when you change a color, in Photoshop, where the saturation and the hue are variable, sometimes the values can change. It's why you can't do like a desaturation layer on top of everything, because desaturation layer will change relative values. If you're trying to do a desaturation layer, the best way to do it either is to do the proof setup like I've run you guys through before, proof setup, custom, and the working dot gain of 20%. And what that does, so when you press Control Y, you get an actual value accurate black and white, or you can make a new layer, fill it with white like this, and set that to color. Oops. And that's another way to do it. It's a little bit extra work, but once you set up your shortcut keys, it's so much faster. But it's another way. Anyway, so the that tone picker, what that does, or the tone lock, that protects the value that you have. But I have other ways around that now, and because I was having problems with the tone lock, they stopped supporting it. They stopped supporting Magic Picker for CS6 quite a while ago, and I've been having problems with it. It doesn't really work, so I've stopped using it, and now I use other ways to control my values. Okay, so right, I was going to paint this background. Ah. Okay, I need to figure out kind of a rough perspective here. So we've got new layer, horizon lines down here. Let's do this with a better color. Okay, horizon line. So if the horizon line's that low, that means that we need to definitely change the angle of attack on our figure. So we're going to see the bottom side of the boobies. His belt even is going to be up. The belly can still hang in front of it, but we need to be mindful of the fact that the perspective is shifted underneath. Up here it has to, oops, it has to be even more so elliptically turned like that. So we probably need to see bottom side of the face a little more. Probably see a little bit more under the crown like that. So that's notes for the figure for later, but I need to figure out my perspective. Actually, let's leave that on. One direction, kind of rough. I'm guess-spectiving. I'm not really trying super hard to be crazy accurate. But you can't really pull off guess-spective without at least a basic understanding of perspective. If you're struggling with perspective, I can't recommend David oh God, I can't remember his goddamn name. I want to say David Scott, and I think that's not it. Perspective for Comics. It's a great book. Teaches you perspective in comic book format. So it's actually like a whole little comic book story, and it's great. Okay. Turn off our figure again. So I think I definitely want to do so doing details like stacked rocks, bricks, things like that. The interior matters certainly for developing interesting textures, variety, that sort of thing, but where it's really going to work is in your outer edges out here. So by breaking up these shapes, and we have to be careful that we're not painting, see, we're not painting too much behind a figure that's not going to show us, so we're just wasting time. But it's the contours that are really going to give you that brick effect. So this is why I like to flip the figure on and off again pretty regularly, because I tend to just paint what's in front of me, and I can forget sometimes. I have done that. I've spent like hours painting a background you never see. Totally guilty. It's a good idea to always keep in mind, like I'm always telling you guys to paint the background, paint back to front, so that you are spending your time optimally, but also be wary of over rendering, on stuff that really doesn't need it. So we just need enough information back here to convey what is back here. We really don't need any more than that, and you should strive for implying as much as you can rather than actually defining it. Did I say I was going to pull up the actual city for reference? No, because the style guides that Wizards gives me are not. Those are NDA. You can't share those. So we're just going to kind of fake it a little bit. We know roughly what Ravnica looks like. You can get up on Google and take a look if you like. This does not look like that, but I hate painting buildings, so. Take from that what you will. I like using traditional looking brushes to do a lot of the indication because you get kind of little textural details for minimal effort. And what do I always say? What's my driving force? Why, laziness, of course. Broke my own rule. I started painting something in the foreground before finishing stuff in the background. We need an Easter egg for the pile of garbage. All right, what are you guys thinking? I'm open to suggestions. Broken headphones. Some PS4s. How many of y'all ended up with a PS4 this holiday season? Still haven't set up your PS5? I personally don't like the design of the new PS5. It's very I don't know, space occupying. I hate doing environment stuff because it just feels like busy work to me. It's like, fill this area. God damn it. Ah. It's really big with the cooling fans. Eesh. Oops. Now, I'm certainly no expert on building design, on environmental design, even environment narrative development, and all of that good stuff. But there are some essentials to it that are kind of universal when it comes to any kind of concept art. Making sure that the shapes that you introduce are scale appropriate for the distance that these things are. Making sure you vary up your shapes so you don't make a whole lot of overly similar rhythms. Consider your positive and negative shapes so you have interesting volumes, interesting contours. Just think you got to find it satisfying to spend the time to do that, and I just don't. I just want to get the character going. I think that's how you know. It's like you just know. Just born this way. I think it's always a good idea to consider where you want to pick your battles for environment stuff. If you're like me and you're not an environment head and it just doesn't, you don't find it very satisfying, find the places where you're going to get the most bang for your buck. And this is probably true for people that don't enjoy characters, same thing. Find the places where you're going to get maximal return for the time that you're going to spend. So in this case, like the wall behind the creature, it's not going to matter all that much because I want the creature to be framed in something simpler. The creature is going to be the focal point. It's going to have all the detail. But this building right here is kind of out in the open, and it's going to describe a lot of our setting on its own. So this is a place where maybe it's worthwhile to spend a little time to get it feeling kind of sexy. Take your time, put in those extra details in that one spot. Thought I had some kind of flat up here that would do this. Maybe it's you. Yeah, that's pretty good. Ah, goblin crotch. Surprise. Losing my perspective there in more ways than one. Am I painting that castle from any reference, or is it just visual library? It's just visual library, which is why it's kind of like half-acid. Ideally, you know, this is absolutely a do as I say, not as I do kind of thing. Ideally, I would have pulled up a bunch of reference that's pertinent to the design at this stage, and then I would go, you know, I would do some studies from that bit of reference, get the lighting sorted out, all that good stuff. In a perfect world. But I'm being lazy. I'm just using stuff kind of that I remember seeing at some point. So this is very high up in terms of our perspective. So we should definitely see underneath that sort of dome up there. Ooh. No idea what I'm going to be doing with this tower. I'm tempted to cut it because I just don't want to deal with it. I just want to paint the goddamn goblin. The scale is broken. I think that's what's the issue is here. Is the scale from compared to the other towers, this one is just gigantic. Whoop. Make it bigger. That logic works great. Oh yeah, there's no part of that I like. You go bye-bye. You're not helping me. Okay, since we got rid of that, we need to kind of come up with something. They have floating structures in Ravnica? I didn't remember that. They may. I didn't see that one come in. Cole's Art. Thank you for that follow. Appreciate that. Sorry, I missed it. Okay, let's go back to our foreground here. Let's get some of the same levels of lights. It's a little bit closer, a little bit more saturated. Let's get a little more. Yeah. Just a selection tool, the lasso tool for selecting, and just paint out the lights and darks. And then because it's a separate shape, we can kind of like, as long as we're following the perspective, we can move it around a little bit. Not much, but a little bit. Okay. I don't know. Whatever. Whatever, poops. Good enough. Don't care. Time to move on. What else we got? Okay, we need to do some garbage. Ah, god damn it. We can't do the garbage yet. Ugh. What's my favorite part? Painting garbage? Uh-oh. Oh no. Still broadcasting. Okay. Just had a little fun Photoshop hiccup. It will be hard, no question. Okay. I think the key with doing convincing garbage is just mixing in recognizable shapes and contours that are occupying the space correctly. That's about all you can do. It's really tough to populate a field of random ugly stuff. You know what I mean? But there are some artists, I've seen some pretty amazing traditional artists, like that's what they do. They just go to the landfill and they paint little bits of landfill and they're so beautiful. I do not have that kind of patience. No, sir. So what I'll do is I just pick kind of random stuff and then try and think of pertinent objects, things that would be tossed away. You know, jars, dead fish. We're gonna, you know, you gotta do the fish skeleton in there somewhere, right? Little face. It's gotta be done. I have never actually seen Suicide Squad. I watched a couple of YouTube reviews of it, and that was sufficient entertainment for me. You didn't know I streamed on Twitch? Ah, well I do. Surprise, surprise. Not sure what this is gonna be. Just try and make some shapes. Maybe it could be, I don't know, barrel slats or something like that. Some used masks. Ouch. Yeah, I guess if you've been into any shopping parking lot, it's kind of disgusting. We're us. They're us and we're them. We are the goblin people. It's hard to make convincing garbage as is and not historically accurate convincing garbage. Yeah, that's true. Well, maybe not historically accurate, but genre accurate, you know? Of course, that scale is crazy off. So this is actually that's a hugely important thing to note. Scale the details that you add will help denote the scale of things so much. So if I throw in sort of a garbage helmet, that garbage helmet should be for a person. So that might dictate, and see how much screen space it occupies. This is a problem because I want to convey the size of the goblin compared to the world around it. So that the joke here is kind of that he looks like a king of this little kingdom, but he's actually just the king of this tiny garbage pile in the middle of the kingdom. He is actually nothing. Pity him. Pity the Goblin King. Kova's making dreaming puppy noises, which is always welcome. I much prefer it to when she makes dreamy puppy farts. That's bad. Once yelled at people for leaving used gloves and masks in their shopping cart. Yeah, that's disgusting. Once had a model. No, I read that one already. Wine bottles, junk, no, domestic trash. Used condom covers. Oh, God. I'm pretty sure that is the quote. Yes, that is accurate. Oh, shit. I have the perviest chat. It's great. This is my chat. There are many chats like it, but this one is mine. It's the little things. Finish my playlist. Unacceptable. Let me remedy that real quick. I don't know what the hell's going on there. Oh yeah, I kind of see the turtle head now too. Oh, you ruined it. No, they don't let me stream work for them. This is me taking a character from a card that I've done before and just showing you guys the process that I go through to paint cards. This is a redesign or a repaint of the illustration for Gutter Snipe. Kind of like when you're painting hair, you can just carve up like underlying shapes. They don't need to be as defined, you know, bits of wood. Just creating that overlap. And Irina's not with us today, but she was on Saturday, and we were talking about value keying. And I'm using very dark values down here. But because the key for that entire area is so dark, it doesn't feel like it's contrasting like it does up there. What I'm doing is I'm looking for little hints of shapes in the garbage that will let me kind of populate it. Just little, you know, I'm finding critters in the clouds, as it were. This kind of just visual noise is a great place with magic cards to kind of populate it with interesting little in jokes and things like that. Although even that has been really cracked down on at Wizards of the Coast. So you can't break lore or introduce lore without double checking first. But I've snuck in lots of stuff through the years. Yeah, check out the VOD for sure. You can see the whole build up, the assignment. I read you through the assignment. I show you how much they paid, everything. So it's very transparent. I just wanted you guys to see what it's like and what to expect if you ever want to get into that. I certainly think just straight up poop is underrepresented here because anything kind of quasi medieval, I just imagine shit running through the streets. I'm not satisfied with this shape. This is dangerous because by introducing a face or facial proportions into a an illustration where this face is not my focal point, it can create a clash. So we're going to test it and see if it works, but there's a very good chance we're just going to have to cut this too. Like, I want it to be a recognizable thing I'm building here, but at the same time, I want it to look beat up and not useful, and that's why it's in the garbage. So that's why I'm still playing with the damn thing. Just worried it's taking up, it's just too dominant a feature. You look for more info on what the process is like for magic artists and about payment, how to get in and stuff, but it's really scarce. Yeah, we talk about it in here, and I have several episodes devoted to it in the Logic of Light and Color series on Gumroad, because it's all information I wish I knew when I was starting out. Oh shit. Oh, okay. Phew. It's like, why is that in front of the goblin? That should not be in front of the goblin. It's just a minor panic attack, people. It's okay. We're fine. Oh, thanks, Coles. Yeah, if you're on the other side of the pond, I have a Saturday show, which I usually start around 12. Oh, stretch. Mm. Man, I've been painting all day. I'm a little tired. Uh, hmm. Let's see. One way, one thing that a lot of people don't think about, and I guess I've had to because it's something I've done so many times now, is I've been responsible for painting piles of garbage on several occasions professionally, and so when I'm out and about, like when I'm walking, and this was especially useful in Mexico, weirdly, the sanitation is very different there. They, instead of, depending on which city or state you're living in, they may do pickups on your block. Like you're always going to get your garbage picked up, but basically it just gets left in this giant pile that's usually like per block. There's just this pile. And sometimes it's literally in the middle of the street. Like at a crossroad, they'll put the garbage in the middle of the crossroad. And I don't know where the origin of that is, but it does get picked up all the time. But you get lots of opportunities to kind of look at the beauty of it, this disorganized, I don't know, natural thing that just happens. And so I've looked at it. I've sat and really pondered garbage, which sounds really dumb when you say it out loud like that. But it's one of those things. Like if you have the opportunity, and you find that you're responsible for something like that in the future, it's totally worth it to sit and just kind of look at it. Really examine how it seems to collect, like what kind of overlaps tend to happen when people just junk stuff. There's rules there. Even in something that's so chaotic, there's rules. And then all of that must obey in the grander scheme. The organization of it must follow a rule system, but everything that's there will follow the rules of light. The logic of light and color applies to everything. You're watching at 2 a.m.? Oh my God, Adelheid. That's rugged. Where are you watching from? Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, real life reference always. Yes. Yes, there is a very cheesy American Booty aspect to what I'm talking about. It's true. I acknowledge it. But I think that resonates for a lot of people because there is some truth in it. As silly as it is. I mean, if you ever watch me paint, especially my lessons, I get super American Beauty about light. I am crazy nerdy about light. And I love talking about it. I love explaining it. It's just exciting to me how it functions. And I remember I would totally like zen out when I was in college and I was first learning to paint, when I was first really like developing the skill and putting two and two together. It actually felt like Lego being assembled, like shit would click, like it clicked. And I was like, oh my God. And there was a point definitely where I started thinking about things that the instructors weren't talking about. And so I would ask these really, really specific questions about how light functioned and things like that. And I was a difficult student for sure, but I am so nerdy. I'm so into it. I love seeing new things. I love learning new things. Every now and then, somebody will come up to me, and contest something in my videos, and then they'll show me either where I was wrong or how to better explain my thinking in that thing. And man, it's so exciting. I get so fucking geeked out and spaz. Now that I think about it, I know those are naughty terms in some countries, so I take it back. But I love light. You're in Slovakia, Adelheid. Damn. Oh shit. So even my afternoon show is still like super late for you. It's 3 a.m. Oh my God, guys. Well, shit. I'm super honored you're spending any of your super late nights with me. That is humbling. I'm glad you guys are here, if even only for a little bit. The other thing that's really tough about garbage is we tend to think of garbage as just being kind of gross and gray, and because it's especially modern garbage, because it just sits and picks up dirt, and the oils and things like that just collect on it. We tend to think of garbage as being kind of colorless, but it's extremely colorful. You just need to pay attention to the colors that you're seeing. There's so much color in garbage, especially modern garbage, because plastics and dyes and things like that can really, um, you know, be a total collection of the entire prism. All colors seem represented in garbage. So that's why I'm color picking, and I'm trying to use, even though it's tempting to just kind of go gray, I'm trying to use colors that are a little bit richer than you'd think. You live in a 30th floor apartment. Every day the sunset is just, oh God, I bet. I love ugly. I love corruption. Like my favorite thing to do. I don't like to go and see like the well manicured gardens and the fancy castles and things like that. I love to go to like the grungy parts of town and see. I love urban decay. Like it's just so awesome. I have a massive preference for seeing that sort of thing. Mexico was great for that because it was this amazing mix of like urban decay and then sort of upcycling, reusing of stuff. It was great. I love Mexico. Beautiful country. Yeah, over 60 episodes about light, I think. Almost 70. I made it to almost 70 before shutting it down. But then I started doing this, and this is basically just a natural extension. Twitch is a natural extension of my Logic of Light and Color series. It's just a little less, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a little less organized. It's more sort of off the cuff type stuff. But yeah, and then I've been on Twitch for several months now, and we have, God, how many episodes? I think this is 70 something episodes now. It's kind of crazy to think about it. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch, yeah. Decaying walls. Yeah, it's very gratifying to look at that stuff. To see, what I like to see is like once incredible or beloved places. One of my favorite places in LA that I enjoyed visiting was they had built a an arena and several sort of what's the word I'm looking for, paddocks, if you will, for the Olympics, like in the 60s or the 70s. And those spaces have since been sort of just kind of donated to the state, and they're barely upkept. But there's this clear, I don't know. God, I'm totally failing on words today. There's this feeling of that one-time majesty. There should be a word for that. I don't know if there is, but that at one point this was a beloved place, and it was very, very special for a very short period of time. And now what's left is just this ghost of what was. It's so cool. Did I struggle a lot with values when I first started as an artist? I feel like that one of the biggest problems with your stuff is you don't know how to get over it. I did struggle with it, but it wasn't that I couldn't do values. It was that I was too strict. Once I figured out how value keys and value relationships worked, I ended up way overdoing it, and it took me years to get past that intense strictness that I was dictating for myself with my values. And still, I mean, to this day, you know, my values are extremely tight, and sometimes to the point where there's not enough contrast for it to be visually stimulating. So knowing that about myself, I go out of my way, especially when I get closer to the end of the painting, to punch those value variations much further. So if we look at a levels, we can see the histogram. My values are very narrow. It's basically the entirety of this painting is done within sort of like I would say like a 35 or 40% range. It's not even full 50%. And a lot of my paintings look like this. They're very tight in the beginning. And then over time, I kind of loosen up because I have to remind myself, oh, wait. So yeah, I still struggle with values. Don't feel bad. Wait, what was I doing here? I was doing something before I started blabbing. I do go on. Maybe like another little twig. Although he's got a twig. No, we can't do that. No, that's a narrative problem. What's something small and pointy and repetitive that's also slightly medieval? I want something like this in this space, but maybe a pitchfork head or something. That's too... Damn, this is really tough. Like things you would think that would just be in the garbage would be super valuable, like books or something, right? Like you can't have that in the garbage. That doesn't make sense. Maybe like little bits of hay or cloth. Of course, cloth. I don't really have any like cloth. Can do that. Cloth is tough because you want it to be recognizable as cloth, but at the same time it has to be like really grungy and shitty looking, covered in blood. No, don't judge me. Bloody bandages for sure. Where is Slovakia? That's the country, right? It's a country, not a city. I'm an American, so our geography is fucking terrible. I am really bad with it. Public educated. My books when I was in middle school, my history books literally said that Columbus discovered the Americas. I do not trust any of our schooling. It's pretty sad. A cloth pad used. That's bloody bandage, kind of. You have to go for now. Well, thanks for hanging out, Coles. Appreciate it, and for spending your time. It used to be Czechoslovakia. Ah, I see. So Czech Republic and Slovakia are split. Okay. Understood. Yeah, and Coles, if you want to catch up on previous episodes, I archive them on my YouTube at youtube.com/Izzy Medrano. And you can catch all sorts of random hangouts there. Usually an episode's 2 hours to 3 hours long, so I think it's pretty good background entertainment. We'll paint some random shit. Yeah, what other countries are with us tonight? I know I pretty regularly get some England and some Spain, little Ireland and Scotland. We've had Mexico drop in. France, awesome. Well, yes, absolutely. Columbus was involved in major exploitation, but he was not the person that discovered America. Otherwise, it would be called Columbia. Amerigo Vespucci was responsible, and even then, he was not the first. We had we have record of Viking encampments in the far northeast that date way back. There's evidence that Japan and China had access to the West Coast. It's crazy. I mean, you think about how dangerous it was to circumnavigate back then. And a lot of our European homies were a little bit behind. Just a little bit. But we don't tell them that. But no, it's really interesting with a lot of... I imagine this is true in some other countries as well, but with a lot of our more nationalistic history, stuff is omitted entirely. I mean, this is why we have a lot of the problems that we have here in regard to how people think about the rest of the world and this American exceptionalism that we kind of generally suffer from. A lot of it comes down to education and not having that stuff. So I try to work on that now and learn about other cultures and things. It's tough, but fun. I like it. This is another way that we can kind of hint at varied substances in the garbage, is to hit it with different material, little bits here and there of different materials. Shiny things, slimy things, rusty things. Brazil, awesome. Where at in Brazil? I've never been. I always wanted to check it out. I was hoping back in the day when I was working on God of War that I'd get a chance to go out there, um, because I know Brazil had a huge following. Latin America in general, we had a pretty big following for the God of War games. But I never got a chance because at the time I didn't speak any Spanish at all. Now I just speak garbage Spanish. And I can read some Portuguese, but I can't speak it at all. But I love to hear it. Portuguese is such a cool sounding language. And I imagine it's Portuguese in Brazil is much like Spanish in Mexico, where it's kind of taken on a life of its own a little bit. It's got the cool accent or cool verbiage or something. Not a well-known place in the middle of the country. Ah. Yeah, I guess a lot of people just think of Rio. Yeah, I worked on a few God of Wars, but not the latest one. The newest one was one of the art directors is one of my students. Was one of my students back in the day when I was teaching in person, and I worked with a lot of that team, a lot of the concept art team. But that was a long time ago. I left Sony in 2014 or 2015, something like that. I can't remember. It's been a long time. Love that team though. They're great. I didn't get to finish all of God of War yet, the new one, the Viking one, but it's so amazing. They did an incredible job. No, Grassetti wasn't my student. Raf is an amazing guy, though. I really like him. That guy hustles. He works his ass off. No, the environment concept lead and art director. That's in the country zone geography, I think. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think, yeah, there's this sort of nationalistic pride that tends to happen with students. Yeah, I imagine Raf is a big shot from there. He's great. Yeah, no, Luke Berliner was one of my students. I used to have Joe Kennedy in my classes. He was not one of my direct students, but we hung out pretty regular in school. And then several of the guys on the team from Naughty Dog, former students back in the day. I'm so proud of all those guys. They all have done so good. Hey, Kova. Don't do that. Kova has, she's obsessive compulsive. So when she like does normal dog behaviors, like slurping on her little doggy bits or her feet, she doesn't stop. So I have to tell her or remind her. One of the more unpleasant ones is when she starts to drink water. Like other dogs will just drink water until they're done, and then they go and do whatever else they're going to do. Well, Kova will drink water until she vomits. It's pretty gross. But that's my dog. My special little critter. I got Kova stories for days. Hey. Stop. Just lay down. Why is she like that? I don't know. It's really common with the breed. I don't think it's a full thing. It's a nervous thing. Like she has a strong tendency to go and start drinking a ton of water when people are excitedly talking. I've noticed that's a thing for her, a trigger. So I don't know why, it just is. What do I think the talent term is seeing as a bad thing? Here here at college they talk about innate talent and acquired, the second being one you work up to get. I have pretty strong opinions on talent, actually. I think the concept of talent is largely bullshit. Not so much in that it doesn't exist, but the way we frame it, I think, is kind of horseshit. I am an adherent to the Bruce Lee philosophy. I actually read it in the Tao of Jeet Kune Do, I think, when I was very young. And it's one of those philosophies that's always stuck with me as a formative thing. It kind of boils down to the idea, if I can remember the quote correctly, how does it go? We're taught that intense talent creates opportunities, when in fact, intense desire creates new opportunities and its own talents as well, which I take to mean that will and effort count for much, much more than just a natural ability with things. Certainly, we must acknowledge that some people are just savants at stuff. It does happen. It does exist. The vast majority of people, that's not a thing that happens in our world. So then it's a question of commitment. It's a question of willpower. I personally have seen, and I think that I have proven to some degree for those that are interested in trying, that anybody can paint. Anybody can learn to paint. Anybody can learn to render form because there's a logic to it. It's not magic at all. Even though sometimes art teachers, and I've certainly had a couple that professed it, they kind of sell this concept of talent and natural ability and things like that. But really, so much of this is systemic, and it's just about understanding the system. So I would not say that in terms of painting, if there is such a thing as a talent, painting isn't a talent that I have. My talent is figuring out how to do stuff, which is a pretty good one, I think. But I would apply this to anything. So any new hobby, any new skill that I spend time learning, I know that it's just going to take time to learn the thing, and I know that I just need to figure out the systems for that thing. And once I figure out the systems, not only can I do the thing, but I can probably teach it as well. So in my experience, I don't buy the talent excuse. I do find I am one of those people that does find it slightly insulting when people are like, oh, you're so talented. I mean, I've learned to kind of let it go, but I'm definitely one of those people that's on the side of like, actually I've spent years working on this. That is why I do this and do it at the capacity that I do. So take from that what you will. It's different for everyone. There is, of course, I'm never going to play basketball. I don't have the actual physicality to do something like that. Maybe never people have told me that I should play football, but I had never had the desire. And that's really what it came down to, was I just not interested in that stuff. But if I'm interested in something, I will learn everything about it. When I was a kid, and it turns out I've discovered this, but almost every kid born in the 80s wanted to be a marine biologist. So I did too, just like everybody else. And I learned fucking everything about fish and like undersea life as a kid. And I mean, that was back before there was Discovery Channel. There was none of that shit. So I had to actively go to the library and learn that stuff. And it was just because I was super into it. So just, if you're struggling with something and you're feeling like you don't have talent, just try to spend some time falling in love with it again. Easier said than done, sure, but it's worth it. So you can acquire a talent. It's not given by birth. I don't think so. I think it's skills. Talent, to me, talent would be something, an aptitude or an ability you're born with that is dependent on physicality. So I think, and this is again outside of the random outlier of, and super rare occasions where you have a savant, where somebody is literally like, they're 4 years old and they can play, Wolfgang, something like that. Okay, that totally exists. That is a thing. But when we're talking about, the broader scope of the majority of people that are learning something, the way they talk about talent is dismissive. And I think it discourages a lot of people because they will think like, oh, well, I don't have the talent for this thing, when that's not really what it is. It's, you don't have the passion for that thing, or you don't have the time or the will to devote to that thing. These things take time. They totally do. They say it, what is it like, it takes 12 years of total commitment to master anything, right? I forget what the number of hours is, like 1,000 hours or 12,000 hours, some shit. But there's some truth to that. Like, it really does take time. But that time that is invested is not just you sitting and punching a clock. It's because you're passionate about that thing. It requires passion to spend that many hours doing something that isn't necessarily rewarding you right away. But that's a great question. Oops. What do you want, dum-dum? Hmm? You wagging your tail. I see you. Yeah, 10,000 hours to master. That makes sense. And sounds about right. I mean, that is a long period of time, and it is a commitment, a major commitment. Gang, I'm gonna have to let y'all go here. I got to take my dog out. She's on medication, so she has to pee like a racehorse pretty goddamn regularly. Hopefully you had fun hanging out as we painted the background. We did a little bit of garbage. I'm not loving everything I've done today. So possibly when we meet on Wednesday, I might do some major changes. But we'll see. We'll see how I'm feeling. I'm not loving it right now. So hopefully something will come to mind. Will you stop? We're going to go in a second. Relax. 20 hours to learn the basics. Makes sense. All right, gang. Well, thanks for hanging out. For those of you that don't know, we meet on Mondays and Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard and noon on Saturdays Pacific Standard. You can, if you haven't been paying attention, over this side, there's been pop-ups, so you can follow me on the social medias, do the subscriptions, the follows, all that good stuff, so you can keep up with whatever I'm up to. Twitter and Instagram are where you're going to find the art. What are you doing? My dog's a maniac. I don't know if you can even see her shadow down there. She's being silly. Anyway, you can find all of my artwork on the social medias and the videos, again, on YouTube, and you can see the video on demand here. So anyway, catch you all next time on Wednesday. We'll continue with the painting and all of the good chats. Those of you that stayed up super late, thank you so much. I super appreciate that. Awful kind of you. So yeah, until Wednesday, paint smart, paint sexy.
I'm Izzy, a professional writer, concept artist, and illustrator. I've taught painting for a dozen years or so, on and offline. Many of your favorite illustrators and designers have studied with me or under me and have gone on to teach in their own right. You're here because, like they did, you want to learn to paint realistically for illustration or concept art. Well, worry not. You're in the right place. Grab a seat. I want you to join me as I explain all the aspects of image making in extremely digestible and clear monthly lessons. Not through the lens of silly how to paint hair or eye demos. That shit is carnival tricks. And you're not really learning anything except an exact way to render one thing in one manner. This is painting mysticism at its worst. Watching these kinds of exploitative lessons won't help you level up with your understanding. Sure, now you can paint sparkly hair, but what if you want to paint a dragon, or figure out how to render a sea of fire, or depict a one-eyed transgender space marine dying in the vacuum of space? Painting and image making are tools of communication, and can be learned by anyone willing to put in some time. Like grammar is for language,